Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United pod. I'm your host, TC, and alongside me, we've got your co-host, Scott. Hello, mate.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Oh, you told me Monday was the day, TC. What's going on?
I didn't say that, pal. I didn't say that. On today's show, we dig into all the latest Manchester United news and transfer rumours. We react to our skipper, Harry Maguire's arrest in Greece. Good news regarding Paul Pogba. Another wonder kid joins the ranks. And the latest on Sancho and the rest. First, though, Scott, Harry Maguire, arrested in Greece. Loads of noise in the media. What do you make of it, pal?
Well, firstly, it's surprising that you're not introducing the podcast by announcing that you won a bet, right? Romelu Lukaku winning goal Europa League final. Didn't you have that bet down?
I definitely didn't.
Yeah, okay. No, we were talking about this Maguire thing the other day, right? This time last year after the World Cup, he goes out and everyone wants to take a picture with him. And now he's the United captain. It's just a completely different kettle of fish, right? And it must be strange for him.
Yes, he was the nation's darling, wasn't he, after the World Cup?
Yeah.
And as you say, when you become United captain, it brings lots of great attention, but also attention that you have to get used to and have to deal with in the correct way. Now, listen, of course, we've heard all kind of noises from all kind of people, a lot of idiots in the press calling for him to be dropped from England, stripped to the United captaincy, without really knowing the full details of the case. You and I don't know the full details of the case, so we're not going to start slamming him anyway, because we don't know that. But all a bit hasty and a little bit wrong, I think, from the national press.
Yeah, but I think that just is a testament to their character, right? The English press are known to just be bloodthirsty. You're right, we don't know the full ins and outs of the case, but you know, I guarantee if this happened last year in exactly the same incident, it wouldn't be front page news, right?
No, he wouldn't. I mean, one thing I would say is embarrassing for the club.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing for sure. It's not the kind of headlines we want to be reading. We want to be looking at our ranks being filled with new additions over this summer. Our lads go and get a rest on holiday. Very short break, of course, this year. And it is embarrassing. I will say that. But also, we've got history as a fan base of backing our players, backing our superstars, our skippers, even people in the ranks when they have done things that the rest of the public think are wrong. Mm-hmm. Maybe we deep down think are wrong too, but we still back them because they're part of the United family.
Of course. And you're right, there's a long list of it, right? Ronaldo, Beckham, Cantona.
Well, yeah, I mean, Roy Keane got arrested on the week of the FA Cup final back in 1999. I'm pretty sure every Red remembers that season, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was arrested for kicking a woman on the week of the cup final. Fergie went and had to scoop him out of the police station. It turns out that Keano had been pestered by a couple of women asking for him to buy them some drinks and ended up having a glass of champagne thrown at him and cut above the eye. But what Keano did say is it was a setup, but that was no excuse. I was a daft, and then, you know, a word that I won't say on the podcast, begins with F and ends with So, so he was saying, look, he was deeply embarrassed by it, even though it wasn't his fault. And they'd gone out on the lash after we'd clinched the title at Old Trafford against Spurs and started with the greatest few weeks of our life as United fans. And that was all going on back then. Of course, they weren't under the scrutiny of social media. They weren't under the scrutiny of this 24-hour press reel that happens with people wanting to churn out headline after headline. You notice it started with Maguire. It started that, you know, it was two bunches of lads having a punch up, and then it went to he was being abused, and then it went to his sisters being stabbed, and now it's been reduced to a misdemeanor. It goes down in gravity as the days go by. So it's something that, on one hand, I don't want to condone. We don't want to see our players getting in scraps and getting in trouble. But on the other hand, you have to take it with a pinch of salt with this press, and also you have to see the full details before condemning them, I suppose.
Yeah, you know, you got to as well remember that the press have history with sensationalizing stories, right, and making it seem as though it's a much bigger deal. I mean, these are the same papers that said that we signed Sancho 3 weeks ago just to sell papers. You know what I mean?
I hope they're right on that one. I'm wrong on this one.
Yeah. But being a United player, you're put under an even bigger microscope than you are probably as an England international, and then you add the captaincy on top of that, and it's one of the most scrutinised positions in the country, right?
It is. And on one hand, I will say that Maguire has looked like the pressure is mounting on his shoulders in the last few weeks of the season. Obviously, it was do or die for us. We got through some of the hurdles that we wanted to, and didn't obviously get through some of the ones we wanted to do as well. But look, I see a lot of United fans blindly backing Ollie and backing our manager because he's our lad. He's a United man. Well, this is Ollie's captain. So I'd suggest everyone backs him the same way they're backing Ollie and the rest of the squad as well, because it is something, this squad has become a lot more likeable than if you look back maybe a couple of years, few years. The characters in this squad do seem like they do have the best interests of United at heart. Maguire apparently was a United fan before he came to the club. And I'd like to see us return to that just full backing of players like we did. You can go back as far as Cantona, can't you? Everyone in the country was saying, "Oh, chuck him out. He's a disgrace," apart from United fans who were backing him blindly because he was one of ours.
Yeah, and if you just think a couple of years later, when David Beckham got sent off in the '98 World Cup, even as an England fan, I put the disappointment of losing to Argentina to one side and just backed David Beckham because United over England, right?
Exactly, and you look at the whole Ronaldo Rooney thing. Remember the press were telling us, posted on Instagram the other day that because it was such a great start to the season after the fixtures came out, and everyone was telling us that they couldn't get along, they were finished, they were going to have tear-ups in the dressing room. United were done for. And then first day of the season, we score 5. Rooney and Ronaldo can't keep their hands off each other. And we romp to 3 titles in a row, Champions League, another Champions League final. And, well, the stories in the press were total nonsense. They had sorted it out on the night of the game, the international game. So, look, if he has done something bad, then I'll say, look, he shouldn't have done it. But at the same time, we back our own at this club, don't we?
Yeah, and just an example of how sensational the stories they like to put out there. I read one that said Harry Maguire had racked up a €63,000 bar bill during that day before this whole incident. And then you read like the very, very last line of the story. It said Maguire was only responsible for about 4 or 5 beers. And it was just like, but you just told a whole story about he's got 17 bottles of champagne. He's got this, and then it's like he only probably had a couple of beers.
No, he stuck them all on Brandon Williams' account.
Bloody hell.
With his new contract. But yeah, you're right. And if he's spending 63,000 and he's getting the rounds in, so he's a bloody good lad, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's 4 days work, 3 days work. What's the problem? That's like you buying around for the first time, TC.
I'll leave it out of you.
You buy me a coffee.
So yeah, look, it's not the most palatable headline, but yeah, we'll leave it there and hope he is back in England. His lawyer's gonna go to court tomorrow for him, and hopefully it's a slap on the wrist. I can't see Harry Maguire, getting smashed and then just going and looking for a tear up. That's one thing I can't see. So there must have been something, whether he's got it massively wrong and he has to pay the price, or whether he was protecting someone else. It's a hard situation. We've all been in the situation where you've got a bloody idiot mate who tries to get in a fight and you've got to back him up, haven't we?
Yeah, and you're also reading stories that these people were singing songs about Munich. So if he's defending our club, then how can we not support him?
Exactly. So, yeah, hope that blows over anyway. And
it will.
And everyone blooming backs off him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, good news coming out in the last couple of days is that Paul Pogba's agent, for once, talking some sense and saying that he's 100% staying at United. What do you think of that, mate?
He was saying it through churned teeth, wasn't he? Really didn't want to say it.
Yeah, well, notice he said all his players are staying, didn't he? He was like De Ligt's staying and Donnarumma's staying. He doesn't want anyone to move this summer. Not enough cash on the go, is there?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, but we've had this to and fro with Paul Pogba. We've actually reached a nice bit of calm now, haven't we? He's come back. He's played with a high level of maturity. His performances seem to be getting better, and his attitude seems in the right place. If we can have that Paul Pogba for the next few years, it's going to benefit the club massively. We haven't got the squad to be bleeding players and then replacing them. We've got spaces to fill already. We can't be getting rid of world class players who are already in the squad. We need to be adding to them. So if that's the case, and he's happy to stay, and of course it ensures us from losing him for a pittance with a year left on his contract if we extend it next year. So yeah, great news, I think, on that front.
Yeah, and Ollie said when he first came in and Pogba was absolutely tearing down trees that he's the kind of player that Ollie wants to build a team around. And I think that now, hopefully, you're right, a bit of stability and a bit more quality around him as well, that he can actually really thrive.
Yeah, and look, he's got a young family now, hasn't he? And sometimes these things do just make you think about different things. And hopefully he's nice and settled. I did have to laugh though. Everyone was saying that, oh, if this was Paul Pogba in Mykonos, everyone would be going crazy about it. So then they put out a headline saying, oh, look at this one Manchester United player behaving. And they had a picture of Paul Pogba going out for lunch with his missus in London.
Yeah, Souness was going crazy at where he decided to go for lunch. How can you go there for lunch, are you?
200 quid on a lobster. You're having a laugh.
Unbelievable. Yeah. He's in his basement pulling his hair out, Souness.
So yeah, good news around Pogba. The Dean Henderson thing seems to be edging towards the fact that he might be staying and competing to that number 1 shirt. I know we mentioned in the last pod that Sheffield United have basically replaced him. And look, we're not hearing many noises about him going out on another loan. And it looks like he might be competing with Dave next season for the number 1 shirt. What do you think? Do you think there might be a twist in this tale yet?
It was actually after listening back to the last podcast and actually digesting what you said, it makes a lot of sense to have him as the cup keeper. However, I was thinking when we get to the Champions League, he's never played in the Champions League before, and it's a risky situation. So if it's going to be more of a traditional, battle for a place, then I think it'd be better than the cup competitions.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about the situation is that we've now got the Euros delayed, haven't we? So we've got the Euros next summer. Mm. So Dean Henderson is going to want to push for that number 1 spot in the England side. There's not a real standout candidate to stand in his way. There's a couple of keepers who you'd say are in and around his level maybe, and it's just there for one of them to grab it with both hands. I would suggest him not playing week in, week out would not be something that would be necessarily wise for his career at this stage. From my point of view, I know we discussed this before, if we gave Dave another year as the undisputed number 1, and then Dean Henderson was out on loan, potentially plays for England next World Cup, that's the perfect dress rehearsal for taking the United number 1 shirt. We'd see what he's like when that pressure is up there. Look, England in a Euros or a World Cup is a massive, stressful environment for any player, and it is akin to playing for United in a way. I wouldn't mind seeing how he reacts to that before we then put him into the first team.
Yeah, but by that time, Dave's going to be, 32? And we're not going to really have a choice, right? I mean, Henderson is going to be the natural successor, but we might be bringing him back from Sheffield United because they didn't get any European football and waiting to see if we can loan him to someone who does.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty much up in the air until he's either on the bench first game or something. Then
yeah, I mean, of course, we've got the other thing we've got here is we've got the transfer window closing a little bit into the season, so we have got the potential to give him a little taste in maybe a cup competition early days, and then still put him out on loan.
Yeah.
So that there's that option as well. We'll have him on the bench or whatever, just to give Dave a kick up the rear. I think Ollie's going to go with Dave. I think he's going to go with Dave. I think we will see Henderson still go somewhere, but it does seem to be creeping towards it. I might be wrong.
Yeah, but I think that maybe Solskjaer's faith in De Gea is maybe dwindling a bit.
Well, he did back him for the semis in the Euros, didn't he? Europa League. So, yeah, it's such a tricky one. It's a hard one from the outside. It must be an even harder one for Ollie because you don't want to burn both keepers. You don't want to have them both in, rotate them and burn them both, put Henderson in too early, lose the faith in David De Gea and him know you've lost faith in him and burn both keepers. So, yeah, I don't envy Ole Gunnar Solskjaer having to make that decision at all.
Yeah, but this might actually not be even a question about David De Gea. This might be about Sergio Romero. If Romero's come out and said, I'm definitely leaving this summer, then we're going to have to bring Henderson back, right?
Yeah. Or another signing that we have to make before the transfer.
How many more keepers can we sign?
There's always room for one more in United. Don't worry about that, pal. Look, player of the month for the final month of the season. Can you guess who got it?
Probably Bruno. 5 in a
Gets it
row, is
again.
it? Unbelievable.
Oh, he didn't get one, did he? He got Greenwood got one off him, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So I think he got 4. I mean, yeah, incredible stuff from Bruno. Really, there wasn't too many standout candidates, and Bruno, of course, when the pressure was on, was dead-eyed from the spot, and he did.
Yeah, scored our last 2 goals of the
Yeah,
season.
and I did think he was. I mean, we both had him man of the match, didn't we, in the semi?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So, yeah, fantastic stuff for Bruno Fernandes. We'll be doing our season review soon, and we'll see if a player who joins in the end of January can grab that Player of the Year award.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Look, good news for United. Luke Shaw has returned to training. We missed him desperately at the end of the season. Brandon Williams was thrust into the first team as an undisputed first choice, which was hard work for a young lad like that, who's a right-footed left back, or really a right-footed right back playing at left back. So really good news. I think Marcus Rashford will be particularly happy to see Luke Shaw back at the training ground.
Probably, yeah. Although he was getting a pretty good partnership with Williams going, but yeah, I think at the end of the season they were both just exhausted, weren't they?
Yeah. So yeah, let's hope he can get back and put those injury worries behind him. Former United left back has been chatting a little bit in the press. Patrice Evra saying he was betrayed by Ed Woodward at the end there, and that he desperately wanted to stay at United, but we let that contract go past January, so he was allowed to talk to foreign clubs. He had already agreed a deal with Juventus, and then Woodward came back in offering the captaincy and a 2-year deal and whatnot, but he had already felt the betrayal and felt like it was too late, and not really the kind of stories we want to be hearing, but it's something we've heard a few times, haven't we, with the top brass at United.
Let's not forget that Moyes is in that equation, right? And Moyes probably told him that he was probably looking at Leighton Baines, and he wanted Leighton Baines to come in so Patrice Evra could finish his contract. And then when he realised he couldn't get Baines, he wanted Evra back, and it was too late.
Yeah, you're right. And also, let's be fair as well, in the final stages at United, Patrice Evra, when he bombed forward, he certainly found it a little bit hard to get back, didn't he? At times it was it was, as you would say, a bit tricky to watch at times.
But he did a good job at Juventus. He was there for a couple of years, right? Like, don't tell me we didn't need someone who A, loved the club as much as Pat, or B, still had something left in him.
That's exactly the thing. And we got rid of so many people in that squad around that first team who did have the best interest of the team at heart, and also had that experience, that know-how, which we could do with. It kind of marries into, of course, the Champions League final was last night, and ex-United lad Ander Herrera started for PSG. We lost him in similar vein, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
The contract came in too late again. Don't forget, Herrera was one of the players who made that midfield. Remember, would you have Matic, Herrera and Pogba when Pogba was flying forward, banging him in for fun? There's a player, again, you look at our squad and you say we haven't got options. There's no one to bring off the bench. There's one we just let go for free, which to me is, I loved Ander Herrera as a player. I loved his spirit as well. And it's again, just bad management. Letting people like that go, and we all had a great time beating PSG last year, but then look where they've gone, look where we've gone. They're playing a Champions League final with one of our players playing in the midfield, and he played blooming well, set up a few chances too.
Well, 2 of them, they had a winger as well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't want to mention him. It's nice to see a few crocodile tears, or snake tears, I think we call them.
Yeah, but that's also something to remember, that when we were trying to buy him, that was something that went on for a good 6 weeks, right? And it was, we're not going to get him, we are going to get him. It was the seesaw, like Sancho, and we ended up getting him. So there's a bit of optimism.
Yeah, and look, that Bayern team now, they're setting the standard, and they that's a blooming good team and a blooming good squad. And we need to pull our finger out. We'll get onto transfers right now, but we need to pull our finger out, because at the moment, Ollie doesn't think we've got a good enough squad. We can deduce that from his substitutions, or a lack of them. And we don't seem to be moving too much in the transfer market. As it stands, it's very, very quiet. As quiet as I've ever known it, really, this early in the summer.
Yeah, but I remember a few weeks ago, I was petrified that Man City were going to win the Champions League. So given that didn't happen, I've got a reason to be happy.
Yeah, I mean, me too, but it's a sad state of affairs when we're watching the Champions League for who we don't want to win it rather than who we do.
I know, but...
Come on. But yeah, I do agree with that. But we do need to get moving. The Sancho thing at the moment seems to be not moving at all. We did say maybe we need to wait for the Champions League, Europa League to finish. Maybe Borussia Dortmund want to get replacements in. But look, Chelsea are now looking to tie up Kai Havertz for about 100 million euros in the next day or two. He's a fantastic player. They've already signed a number of players. They're looking to possibly get Thiago Silva at the back. We'll see how he does it in the Premier League. But, last show I was saying we've got to look above us. We've got to look at City and Liverpool and catching them. Chelsea finished on the same points as us. Mm-hmm. And they are recruiting like there's no tomorrow. Yeah. This was the summer where I thought Chelsea are going to go wild. We're going to go mad in the transfer window too. At the moment, we're blooming chasing our tail again.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's 6 weeks left of the transfer window, but it feels like it's getting desperate now.
Yeah, it is when you're watching Jadon Sancho's haircuts and
you're the one. You're the one.
Hoping a Manchester hashtag means something, but yeah, even I'm getting a little bit of a squeaky bum at the moment over the Jadon Sancho thing, Scott.
Yeah, I'm losing a bit of hope for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the good thing is I thought the Bundesliga started a little bit earlier than ours, but it doesn't actually. It starts a week later, so they will play their first game on the 19th when we play Palace our first game as well. So that's something that I just checked up because I was worried. When do they start? So we've still got a bit of time, but we do need to start making moves soon. And if it is the case, we need to get Sancho done to get other deals done. Then let's get it done because it's eerily quiet at the moment.
Yeah, and something really needs to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had other stories linked now with other right wingers. We've had the Douglas Costa thing pop back up again, and also Kingsley Coman, the match winner in the Champions League final. Mm-hmm. Neither of those players seem to be the right fit, do they, Scott? When you're going from possibly getting Jadon Sancho and possibly sorting out that front line for years to come, and then going back to Juve for a almost 30-year-old in a month, and Kingsley Coman, who, of course he did a great job, but he was an unexpected starter for Bayern, and I hope those are just stories we're putting out there to try and just hurry Dortmund along a little bit, because either of them is not going to get us our juices flowing at all, is it, mate?
No, or us getting up the league table. I don't think. I think bringing in Douglas Costa, who's been injured the last 18 months, is one of these signings that, same with Thiago Alcantara. You can't really see Solskjaer signing players whose best years are behind him, and I just can't see it. I think these are smokescreens.
Yeah, and I'd much rather Thiago or an Alaba than either of those two. Mm-hmm. But also maybe we need a bit of experience too. If we can get Sancho in and then add some experience to that squad as well, it's something that even Maguire said, didn't he? At the end there, maybe we lacked a bit of experience. Well, one way to get that is obviously to buy players who are a little bit more experienced.
Yeah, you started that off by saying if we get Sancho and get someone. I mean, if we get Sancho, we're fine, right? Like the players have just gained more experience by getting. Like Harry Maguire's got knocked out of Europe twice in the last month. He's gained a bit of experience.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff we can earn, right? We can't just find Jadon Sancho in the academy. We got to go out and get world-class quality that is available this year. Next year, it's going to be an absolute auction to get him.
It is. And what I meant is if we can get Sancho as in, we can bring a young, potentially world-class player in and then add a bit of experience rather than, getting a blooming striker who can barely walk and then midfielder who can barely walk and a defender who can barely walk as well. Mm-hmm. And I won't be a fan of that. But if it's Sancho and a bit of experience, then the blend will be right for me. That's what I meant. So, yeah, I mean, there is one experienced player who has been linked a little bit more now is N'Golo Kante from Chelsea. The rumours were getting a little bit hot about a week ago.
Yeah, I don't understand him.
No?
Don't get it, no.
Would you not be a goer for that?
I don't think so. I actually don't. I think, again, best years behind him. And I don't think that he would maybe strengthen the midfield, but maybe for a couple of years. I'd really like us to, if we're going to have to go and spend 50, 60, 70 million on someone like Kante would cost, it's got to be someone who's going to be there for 5-10 years, hopefully.
Yeah, and also it seems like we need more of a midfielder who can sit rather than someone who is all over the shop, like Kante is. I mean, he plays his best football when he is basically just bombing around everywhere, doesn't he? So he's hardly a metronome at the back of that midfield. So, we'll see with that one. We did sign a young Norwegian, first Norwegian that Ollie signed, Isaac Hansen Aaron. from Tromsø, youngest ever player to play for them, just 15 years old when he made his debut, 16 now. Got an assist in his last game, obviously at senior level. Seems like a very good young prospect.
Yeah, well, I have to hope so. We remember back in the day we had a few good Norwegian midfielders, right? We had that Mats Dali, and we had a few other players. Yeah, we've always sort of had history with getting some Scandinavian academy players, but they've never really worked out. Hopefully this one will.
Yeah, Eric Nevlin never did it, did he?
Well,
had high hopes as well.
Really. Yeah, had high hopes of him.
But yeah, look, that's another nice addition. We've had Mark Gerardo come in, and we're expected to get a few more as well there. We had the Real Madrid left back as well, didn't we? Who seems to be coming as well. So we're strengthening that layer under that maybe comes good in 3 or 4 years' time. But it's the first team now that we need to sort out.
Yeah, Woodward has a good history with these single-digit million transfers, right? Where it's the difference in negotiations is only 100 grand here and there. Or to be honest with you, these are all just tribunal fees, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these. He's just signing youth contracts, and the court of arbitration decides how much the club should be awarded. So these are layups.
Yeah.
If you look at the lady at Chelsea, she's just banging out signing. She's making Woodward look a right mug. We need someone as ruthless as that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm all for getting these youngsters around the 15, 16 age group. But the key is that we've got to get good at selling them. Look, they're not all going to come through and be world beaters for us. But you look at other clubs who buy these players who are potential stars. They get good money for them, and it's a good business to generate a few tens of millions here and there. But we got to get good at selling people, because that's one thing. As well as being slow on the pull, we also, in terms of getting people out, we tend, with our sky high wages, to not be able to move them on so well.
Yeah. Give them away.
Yeah, but we got to get stuff going quickly, mate, because it's ticking along, and other teams are starting to add to their squads, and we don't want to be left behind.
You're the one saying Monday.
That's a misquote. Thanks for joining us again, everyone. Get subscribed to the 100% United if you're not already. Follow our Instagram at United100podcast 2. We'll be back on Friday with part 1 of our season review. Until then, thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, TC.
Take care. Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.